Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric. I am back after taking a short break to help my daughter with a major transition in her life. Despite the chaos of having my house inundated with moving boxes, I have managed to work on 3 projects that I'll share today. It has been a little bit crazy. It has been it's been a blast. My daughter and I spent most of the last 3 weeks, in addition to packing her stuff, we have been sewing clothing, and I wish I had pictures for all of the different projects that she and I worked on. Alas, taking photographs didn't necessarily get done. I was she made some items like this, and I was doing the dyeing of the finished object really up until like the last days just before she left. So I don't have photos. I do have a photo of one of the projects I wanted to share. I talked about in one of my last videos a knitted sweater I was working on for her, and I did manage to get that finished, and I have pictures to share of her wearing that. It was an interesting project. When I talked about it in my last video, I mentioned that I thought I was doing a raglan, and as it turns out, it wasn't a raglan. I had been doing a yoke. This is what happened, a top-down yoke sweater. And this is what happens when you put down a project for a while. You forget even how you were doing it. It was not from a pattern other than just a recipe of top-down, the number of stitches and increases. I tried a stitch repeat that I kind of just made up on the fly. It actually turned out really well. The only thing that I would like to have done differently is I needed to stop the increases and shift to just a raglan style increase after a certain point on the yoke. You might be able to see in the photo how the spokes of the increases, there's 2 that come down the front, then you got 2 on the front arm, 2 on the back arm, and then 2 in the back. So you have your 8 sets of increases. And I think if I were to do this again or something like this again, specifically for my daughter, that I would stop the increases in the front at a flattering level and just move to having increases for the sleeves. But of course, when I was finishing this up or trying to finish this up, she was not back in the United States, and so I couldn't try it on her, and I couldn't see how it was going to fit. And one of the things, if you're somebody who works with curves and curvy bodies, it is a little bit different how you have your increases. It does make a difference. We've been working with sewing patterns with the pattern company Cashmerette that dedicates themselves to making patterns for people with women with lots of curves. And one of the things you do start to really recognize is that patterns designed for curvy bodies are constructed differently than patterns for less curvy bodies. So with this sweater, hindsight has said, okay, next time I will do the yoke a certain number of inches, stop all the increases except for in the shoulders, and do more of a raglan style to finish off the increases for the sleeves. But she loves it. She loves the texture of it. She loves the feel of it. She started wearing it as soon as I had it off the needles and the ends woven in. It hasn't been blocked. Nothing. It was just immediately, as soon as the ends were woven in, she tried it on, and she kept wearing it. So that's always a wonderful thing. It's the first time I have done a sweater using commercial sock yarn and fibers like that, and doing the kind of the pattern that I was doing was where basically you knit 2 together, yarn over, but I was only doing that every 4 rounds. And so it created, it created a texture, it created a softness and an openness that really ended up being lovely in the yoke part. But it also didn't make it lacy. It has a lot of density to it, so that it's warm, but it's breathable. And I think it turned out really well. I do not believe I'll be writing up a pattern for it, but I may eventually try to make another one. It was a great way to stash bust some fibers that I had on hand, and so that's a win. Speaking of fibers that are on hand and stash busting, that brings me to the next project I want to share. After posting my last video, one of the viewers out there, and you know who you are, gave me a gift of purchasing for me the hat pattern that I've been referencing and inspired by, the Musselbugh hat. And it was a wonderful surprise. It was a delight waking up and seeing the email saying that I had a gift on Ravelry, that somebody had purchased me a pattern. Oh, I mean, it was wonderful. I was so surprised. It tickled me to no end, and it was perfect timing because I had just wrapped up the sweater, or was just wrapping up the sweater, and I needed a project to kind of keep my hands busy as well as all the other things that were keeping me busy. I didn't get a whole lot of time to sit down and knit, or I certainly did not get to my spinning wheel. My house was a disaster. I ended up having 3 different sections of my living space that were boxes stacked pretty much as high as I am tall. So I didn't have a ton of time outside of the sewing room, didn't have a lot of energy, but this Musselbugh hat and digging into my stash of single skeins really ended up being the perfect thing to cast on. And I've been working on it this week as I have taken breaks from all my cleaning and reorganizing and recovery from all packing. So this is how much I've been able to get done. I had only been able to get, before this week, only been able to get some of the top of the hat done. Once I got past the increases, it's just going around in a circle. What I'm using is 2 skeins of orphan yarn from a D-stash that I was able to pick up. They are from 2 different fiber companies. It looks like one of them is, well, I have one of them is from, it looks like a hand dyeing, an indie dyer called Hey You Yarn. And the other one is Emma's Yarn. They are both Superwash Merino. They are both, I think, a light fingering weight. So I put 2 strands together. The colorways, one is Hot Tamale and the other one I believe is like Lemonade. Yes, Hot Tamale and Lemonade. And these are yarns, as I said, I ended up picking up from somebody else's D-stash. So I have no idea when they were made, how old they are, but the 2 of them just worked out really well together, and I'm having a blast making this hat. I will probably have enough to make this hat, and I think I might make a neck warmer as well, so it's a match set. But it is a wonderful, it's a wonderful keep my hands busy. And I was correct. So I was very close in how I did my version of it. If you check out the last video, I was wearing the hat that I made. I was very close to doing my increases in the same way as this one. It was lovely to actually have the pattern and to see specifically how the increases were done. I have to admit, I do like the very structured nature of the increases and the way they look. But most importantly, this is absolutely, as I expected, a wonderful pattern. It has fabulous charts. I won't show them because it's too easy to take snapshots. Fabulous charts so that you really can just, your gauge, your yarn, choice really doesn't have an impact on it, because you are, after doing a number of the rounds, the rows, you then measure your gauge and you follow the chart to know how many more rows, how many stitches total you need on your needles. It was a breeze. It is a brilliant recipe for a hat. And I can think of any people who have the ability to do a lot of patterning and maybe lace. You could have a blast with this, because once you get past the increases, it's a vanilla hat. And so if you know how to do the math, if you know how to do, the patterning, you could have a lot of fun playing around with this base. So if you haven't tried the Musselbugh hat, and no, I'm not paid to promote this at all. I just find, I love patterns that are not just vanilla, but are recipes for success. Not a pattern as much as a set of guides. I just love those because it encourages us to try our own techniques and maybe try our hand spun yarns, or, just think outside the box, or just have a simple vanilla knitting around in a circle when our brain doesn't have the ability to do anything else. And that is how this week has been. I have had a lot more time this week to sit down in front of the TV and just try to recover. Between my sessions of rearrange and clean, I have sat down and let my body recover. And the knitting has been wonderful. So if you haven't tried out the hat, I recommend you purchase the pattern. And again, thank you so much for my dear viewer who purchased the pattern for me. It was a really wonderful treat and surprise. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that she purchased the pattern for me it had been my birthday that week. So the purchase pattern arrived in the same week as my birthday. So it was just such a wonderful little treat. It was such a surprise. And yeah, I'm still smiling about it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring into this the third project that I was able to work on. As those of you that have been following my videos know, I've been working on an English paper piecing quilt that I'm doing block by block. There was no way I was going to get a block done. Actually, I have all the paper pieces cut. I just haven't had any time to do any of the fabric preparation. And when it came down to, I had hoped to actually have it, so I was doing it this week and have something. But I was just so wiped out, so tired, so frazzled. And so instead of doing one of those blocks this week, I'm going to wait until the next video for those. Instead, I went and I printed out just very simple English paper piecing flowers that, because I printed out multiples, I was able to just, sitting in my comfy chair, trimming up around, it was really easy, all done in my lap. And I have made, in honor of the fact that March keeps trying to look like spring outside, I have made 2 flowers. So those of you that have been watching for a while, back in December, I did a snowflake type shape, a hexagon that I sewed two of them together and turned it into an ornament. Well, this is my spring version. This one has a button on the front. I don't have a button on the back of it. This one has a butterfly on the front and a little dragonfly on the back. This one, I sewed the two constructed components. So I sewed all these little pieces together, and then I sewed the two flower pieces together with the wrong sides together. So all the papers were facing out. I had everything sewn up except for just a little opening, took all the papers off, turned it right side out, stuffed it, and closed it up. And so it's more of a traditional seaming, I guess you could say, of it. This one I tried, instead I sewed it together with the wrong sides facing each other, and as I would get one section done, I would pull out the papers. So I'm just going to bring this in really close so you can see the finished edge. On this one, you can see, if you look closely, I think, can you zoom, will it zoom in? It doesn't want to focus. You might be able to see it, but I don't think it's going to focus very well. But my stitches are on the outside, okay? On this one, all the stitches are on the inside. I decided to try the two different techniques. I will share these two little patterns. If you want to make them, a tip is to, when you get ready to attach your fabric to them, remember to flip one set of them over, because you want a mirror to go on the other side. I didn't do it. It still works out all right. Just kind of fudged it. I forgot to do that when I was doing it. But if you want it to be a little bit easier to have them go together, when you print out the pieces, because they should all be on one sheet to print out, make sure to flip over so that you're using the wrong side, the back side of the template. So you have mirror images that you're making. I guess, hopefully that makes sense. But it's a cute little motif. They can be done for these little ornaments, little pillows. They could also be used as a singular design as an applique. So you could put down a piece of fabric and apply your motif to it. So that, that is what I've been up to. That is my project for this week. I know this is a shorter video. I am still recovering. I actually do have my sewing room back to a functional state as of today. But that is what I wanted to share with you this week. I hope you take time to unwind with fiber and fabric, and that you are enjoying this month of March. I should be back again in a couple weeks to have another video. Until then, wishing you all the best, and we will see you soon.